Hello! Okay, let's try this. I'm recording this from my phone. For the third time I've tried to make the video because I'm not sure if it's YouTube, my computer, my webcam, I don't know, but it kept saying that there was an error or like something and reconnect, blah blah blah, when I was making a video. So this will have to do for today. Anyways, okay. I thought I didn't even get my point across, honestly, in the other video, so I hope you guys can... It's a really good idea in my head, I just have to get it out of my head. But okay, so for me, personally, as usual, I know that usually with the people close to me, like, don't get me wrong, if my friends bring me soup at work, then it's easy for me to be like, oh, thanks, you're the best. Or if I bump into you in the hallway, I'll apologize a million times. But I mean, usually for people close to me and for bigger events in my life, I have a hard time apologizing, and I also have a hard time sometimes, depending on situations and who it is, saying thank you. I'm not necessarily saying thank you, but showing gratitude. And I think that mine personally come from the same place. Though I have daddy issues, a big part for me in my childhood and how I was raised with the emotional capacity I was raised with was a lot to do with my mother. And she was the neglectful part of my childhood, and she knows that now, and she's a great person now. She's grown a lot as a person, especially as we learn to communicate better with each other. However, as for my past, and I think a lot of it is how she was raised too. It was a psychology of her family as well, because, for instance, it's always about how much they've done. Like, in her family, like, my 80-year-old grandmother is in a home, and my twin aunts live in another state, so it takes them a little bit longer to get here, and when they're together, all they do is fight, and they're like, well, I just did this and this and this for grandma and blah, blah, blah. It's always about acknowledgement. You know what I mean? Like, it's always about, I do this much and I need people to realize it. And it's always been like that her whole life. And I think I get so angry too when I see traits in her that I know I acquired simply by being raised by her. And I don't like those traits about me. And I wish that she could acknowledge those traits in her. And I'm way more sensitive towards my mom, because when she does it, I just want to be like, can you, like, shut up? Like, fucking seriously? Like, one of those people who always remind you, like, how much the bill is, or, like, I just did this and this for you, and I fucking have spent this much money, and, like, someone who just repeats, like, the amount of money they just spent, or, like, whatever. And so that makes it really hard sometimes to show gratitude when you built up so much anger throughout your childhood that you didn't even really realize you were building. And so that's a big part of the gratitude part, as well as, I think, sometimes it's hard to say thank you for somebody who continuously, like, does something to help me out, or, like, if I need help with something or to borrow something or whatever, I think that is me having a hard time letting people know they did something that's important to me, because I don't want anyone to feel needed. I still have a hard time letting somebody know that I need them, and that's probably because I didn't need anybody growing up. I was by myself. And then if it was something that I needed, like from my mom, she demanded that gratitude, you know? And so I'm so used to withholding gratitude because of that reason. And the apologizing, I think, really, in my opinion, apologizing in general with BPD and, like, owning something comes from non-BPDs with a healthy emotional capacity would see a mistake or hurting someone's feelings or whatever. They would see an apology as a ways to make amends with that person and rebuild their interpersonal relationship. They see it as, I wronged you. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm not that person. Whereas internally and subconsciously for us, it's more of a reflection of who we are. Like, say we broke someone's trust. Like, say we got in a fight with somebody, and the fight's both of our faults. we both have points in it, or like whatever. It's not anybody's fault. We both have to come to a resolution. However, I did something because of the fight. Even when I know that I did something wrong, sometimes it's harder for a BPD to make that apology completely, because it's almost like it opens doors. It opens a door for that person to be like, this is your fault. It's almost like we're afraid to apologize because we feel like everything will be turned on us, and we don't see it as, I hurt you, let's make amends. It's more as subconsciously we turn it internally, and we say to ourselves that we're a bad person if we did this, or we're stupid if we did this. Like, if it's something little, like we fucked up the directions and then there's a bunch of people that we're responsible for getting lost, we panic if everybody's like, come on, Alicia, and like ganging up on you or whatever. You'd be like, oh my, I don't want to be known as like the person that they're like, don't ask Alicia, she fucked it up. That's never happened. It was like a little example, you know what I mean? I never make sense when I say things so loud. It's so good in my head though. Little apologies like that, or like when I'm being a bitch, for instance. Like, I know when I'm being fucking rude because I'm in a mood. And I take it out on somebody really close to me, and I just expect them to understand to leave me alone, and I'm just a bitch, and for no reason. And I'll sit there in my head, and I want to just turn to them and be like, Sylvie, I'm grumpy. But sometimes I just can't. Like, I can't just apologize. Sometimes, like, it's not all the time, but there's just times where I've done something, and it's hard to apologize, and it's because subconsciously we take it internally, and it's against ourselves, and we subconsciously, because of whatever made you like that when you were little, like for instance, my mom and my parents were just always scolding. We were always in our room for some reason, and like 90% of the time, because I was the youngest kid, like everybody could gang up on me, and like I spent my life fucking defending myself when I was hopeless. Like, even if I did nothing but I had them ganging up on me with my mom, I was fucked. And I spent my entire life screaming, and everybody always just thought I was the one lashing out, and I was dramatic, and like I'm always fighting, and blah, blah, blah. No. Half the time was because I didn't actually fucking do something, or even if I did, like somebody else did something and they really needed to take blame for it, but nobody even saw what they did wrong because everybody was ganging up on me. And like that's where a lot of my shit comes from, especially in like family things. Like, I'll stand up for myself now, and even if, like the other night, for instance, even if I'll be like, as an adult, I'm calmly saying that you just belittled, like, something I just did, and, like, everybody ganged up on me and was like, oh, why do you have to be so dramatic, blah, 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 and I'm like, that's how my family goes. So for me, criticism and stuff like that in large groups is really overwhelming for me, and it's really overwhelming for me to feel like I made a mistake, or even to do little things wrong, like cook something wrong. Like, it's hard for me to make a mistake because it's rooted so deep. This is coming out so dumb. My points are terrible. Fuck, it sounded so good in my head, my point, and I just can't get it out. But yeah, basically, to sum it up, I think the hard part for a BPD to apologize and sometimes say thank you is just rooted differently. A normal mentality would take it as guilty of something that they needed to apologize for, whereas we turn it internally and becomes the self-hate of, if we admit to this, then these doors are open, that it's all our fault, we ruined everything, we're a bad person. It's just, I guess it goes back to that third-degree burns for emotional skin. The triggers for us when we apologize, we feel so vulnerable, and because of whatever happened in the past. I know for me, I guess when I make these videos and I can't get my point across, I should really like just use examples from my childhood, because that way it paints a picture of like, okay, this was the experience and this is my response. That would have probably been better. I really can't do a video right now, and it's a shitty video because it's on my phone, so I guess this is just kind of to get the point across, even though I really feel like I fucked up the point, if anything, and I just made borderlines look Like, they just can't own their shit, but that's not what I was saying at all. I'm very big on owning my shit. It's little things, if anything, that I was talking about not being able to apologize for. Like just being a bitch and just, or like when I know someone did something for me and I just kind of ignore it. And that's a lot of like me not wanting to acknowledge what someone does. Partially because of my mother and partially because I don't want anybody to think that I need them. I don't know. This video is stupid. Please leave me a comment on if I got my point across at all and how I can clear it up for you. Let me know, because I'm all over the place right now. I'm very stressed out. I have court today for my daughter and fucking my head is everywhere. Comment. Please let me know. Thanks.